Hello, ladies. We are here again for True Serum Tuesday. So happy you are all going to be joining us, and congratulations for making it to week 3 of our Boundaries versus Barriers series. And so Sarah should be joining us pretty soon. And before we get started, oh wait, let me see. Let's get her on here. So, as we're trying to see, I think there might be a little bit of a delay. So, okay, there we go. I can, there's always a little bit of something going on with this that we're trying to figure out. So, as we're waiting for Sarah to join with us, I wanted to tell you I got a package in the mail today. And I was excited because it is my White Hot Truth book that I got in the mail today. And it is no small coincidence, I would say, because tonight is all about showing yourself a little bit of love and how self-love plays a part in us creating these boundaries and removing barriers that don't allow us to have freedom and ease. Hey, Sarah, how are you?
Hey Rachel, good, thanks. How are you?
Doing good. It seems like I might have a little bit of delay on my end, so I'm not sure what that's about, but we'll just wing it. But I got my book in the mail today, and
Awesome.
I already have it marked for tonight, and my marks are like little heart stickers. So I was like, what better way to celebrate kind of this self-love and our way of being and creating ease and freedom in our life, and talking about that this week. So I wanted to make sure you guys knew that. Also, I'm going to make that announcement now, and then I'll also make it at the end. So in case that you are live with us or you're watching the recording, just know that next True Serum Tuesday is not going to be on Tuesday. It's going to be on Monday. So the reason for that is that I'm going to be out of town, and I'm actually going to be at a concert Tuesday night. So I'm not going to stop and do the True Serum Tuesday video live from the concert, although that would probably be pretty cool. But I'm going to hold my own boundaries and creating some freedom and ease in my own life. And we're going to do it on Monday. So the True Serum Tuesday will actually be like True Serum Monday next week. And if you don't end up making it live, that's totally fine. You can watch the recording. I know it kind of shifts things up a little bit, but we need a little bit of shifting about sometimes, and it'll maybe create no more live people or more live people. So continue to log in and join us. So Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself? Oh, and then I'll say too, hi Leslie, now that Leslie's on there. I'm gonna try and stay focused on getting some of this stuff. So if I don't see you, or if I don't acknowledge that you're here, just know that Sarah and I are so happy that you've chosen to be here during this series, and that we will see that you are here, and we welcome every single one of you. Hey Veronica, hi Leslie. Sarah, did you want to tell a little bit about why you decided to partner with me in this, and kind of what you're offering to the group, those free resources, which are huge?
Yeah, sure. I mean, for me, this is just a great opportunity because I think, you and I are so well aligned in terms of how we see the world and how, how people need to be living and creating that authenticity for themselves. So it's a great opportunity to get involved in that. And also just, one thing I've found that I maybe wasn't entirely expecting, but just that great energy from working with someone else and fresh ideas and just making you think a little bit differently about things. And that's been loads of fun. So, yeah. So,
oh, it looks like oh, there you go. Say that last part again. You froze up.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So yeah, just it's loads of fun. And yeah, just for those who haven't heard me rabbit on about it already, so my website is theupwardspiralproject.com, and that, as Rachel mentioned, there's loads of free resources there, so we've based it on 4 kind of underlying pillars to creating an ideal life, I guess. So your health and wellness, spirituality, your relationships, and financial side of things. And in each of those areas, we've got some of our own articles, we've got links to content from other people. So we're not about reinventing the wheel, we're just about sharing all the great things that we find on our own journey, and hoping that they'll be helpful and useful to other people, and then just kind of, putting our own spin and interpretation on that. Because I've learned very much myself that that people pick up messages in different ways. So it's just useful sometimes to restate something just in a slightly different way, and it can just really click with someone that didn't really get the message another time. So yeah, that's what we're all about.
Yeah, and I chose to work with Sarah too because I do trust her and her content. As most of you know, I'm pretty picky out of who I work with, and I do that on purpose because it is partially of the quality of things I want to bring to this group, the quality of information. And so I can really appreciate Sarah's ability to bring high quality stuff to this. And she's right, you never know. It's just like what we say on here, you never know who you're going to touch or who's going to be able to get a piece and connect with you through whatever you post or any of those things. And so that's why I encourage you, even if you're watching the recording and we're asking questions, please make sure that you post your responses so that we can encourage other people. We just never know who we're going to inspire. So I'm going to read from this book today, just some snippets, and then one I feel really impactful statement. And tonight is all about self-love. And as Sarah and I were creating this this series, we were trying to figure out what were some of the key pieces that we needed to find and that we continue to implement every single day, because by no means are we the masters of everything. We are continued work in progress, just like everyone else that's on this call or watching this video or that's in this group. We've had an ability to practice, and we hear a lot of self-love or love yourself. So how many of you that are currently on here live or even watch the recording, how many of you have heard this term like self-love, or someone has told you you're supposed to love yourself? So click the thumbs up or the hearts if you've heard that, or you can reply yes in the comments, because I've heard it a lot. It's kind of like self-care. It gets this watered down meaning of, oh, what does that even mean, self-love? And so tonight, last week was all about this identification, the identification of what maybe boundaries were turning or were barriers, and what barriers you want to turn into boundaries. And it's all about creating that freedom and ease. So we identified some of those things. And when we did that, and even in my own reflection, and I'm not sure about you, Sarah, but even in my own reflection of myself, I have to figure out how I cannot beat myself up for things maybe that I didn't know. One of the things I talk with women about all the time, and I speak with pretty much all of my clients about, is you only made the decision that you knew at the time was the right one for you. Hindsight's 20/20, and that's all it is.
Yeah.
So
it's so often we look back and we think, oh, why did I do that back then? It's like, well, because you didn't know any better at the time. And the point is not to go, oh, I'm so stupid that I've done this in the past or whatever. It's just to go, hey, now I'm learning something new and I've got a chance to change, and I've got a chance to move forward and do things in a different way. And that's, it's incredibly important, because otherwise you can just get back into a negative space where you're just beating up on yourself, and that's really hard to actually move forward when you feel down on yourself. So it's just so important to keep that vibe high.
So I have my hand raised, or I'm doing the thumbs up over here, but how many of you on here have really beat yourself up for things that weren't your responsibility in the first place? Or you beat yourself up for things that you thought you should have known, but you never could have known? So entertain that concept and take just a moment to think about it, and maybe even tying it back to last week, the things that you identified that you wanted to make some shifts or to release those barriers or create some more energy producing boundaries, with that fence that allows this energetic exchange instead of blocking everything off for protection. So I'm wondering if you've experienced beating yourself up for those boundaries or barriers that you have had before. Um, there's been lots of times when I used to beat myself up for not honoring my gift of sensitivity and my empathic gift. And and so now I've been able to graduate from that because it's no longer something that I see as a hindrance in my life or something that I don't understand. And so loving that part of myself and accepting it is going to be part of what we talk about tonight. So were you able to take, were any of you on this live call or on the recording able to take any action from last week? If you did, and if so, please let us know in the comments the action that you took from that. Let us know how you changed some of those things and made those little shifts or movements. So let me look down at my notes here. And remember, whenever you're making these small adjustments, and they don't have to be huge. Remember, we talked about internal stuff last week. It can be these small adjustments that you're making that create the clarity that you need. So if you've had a boundary and you're like, oh, I think it's a barrier, and then you try and loosen or expand the boundary and you're like, oh, I don't feel safe in that space yet, I'm not ready, then you can go back to making the fence, smaller, so to speak, or your area smaller for you to say, this is how I want to live my life. This is the realm in which I want to operate. So how does self-love play a role in allowing you to expand your feelings of freedom and ease? And how do you do it with some sincerity? Instead of like, oh yeah, I love myself, or I think so great, I think I'm great, because that kind of keeps us on the surface. And then when we start digging down into there, it's like, oh, well, maybe. And remember, when we dig down, it's not just about saying what you're not doing. It's not about saying how you're lacking. It's not about saying how you're not meeting your own expectations, which some of all that stuff revolves around some self-love. What's about is knowing the starting place, because then we can actually start from there. So what self-love got to do with it, and what is self-love? So I'm wondering, Sarah, what are some ways that you, I don't know, have like self-love, self-compassion, all those things?
I think one of the biggest things is just accepting myself, not so, and even accepting if I'm not loving myself, as strange as that may sound, but it's like, I don't need to beat myself up about feeling bad about myself. If I'm feeling bad about myself, I just try to be with it and work through it and try and understand, why am I feeling that way? Is there anything I can do that's going to make that feel better? But I don't like heap something else on top of it by going, oh, you're so stupid because you think you're stupid, like that's just going to make it worse. So it's that, just trying to be really gentle and patient, but at the same time holding myself accountable that I want to keep moving in a positive direction. So it's okay to have, some time where you're not feeling that great, but not to start to wallow in that. So to keep thinking, to keep challenging myself gently. Okay, what should I be doing? What do I need to do to move on from where I am now? Do I need to, do I need to talk to someone else? Do I need to do some reading? Actually, one of the reasons that we sort of started doing this stuff with the Upward Spiral Project is that I actually find writing those articles incredibly therapeutic. It helps me work through issues in my own mind, through things that I'm experiencing myself, and it just, that process of writing and trying to explain something to someone else, it can actually be really helpful to yourself for understanding. So but I think really for me the big one is just acceptance and patience. You are where you are, you can't force it. And I can look back now and see, how amazingly far I've come over a period of years, but it has taken a period of years. It wasn't overnight. Oh wow, suddenly my life's changed. It's just been constant and just growing a little bit. And it's just it you mentioned before about, you and I, we've done some practice on this, but we're not the masters. We don't know everything. And it's a journey. No one ever really is a master. We just keep learning and growing as we move through life, and that's really the point. It's not like and a goal that you're trying to achieve. It's just every day doing it again, and just, you know, going along with what's happening in life, because, you know, life's constantly changing, and therefore you're constantly changing.
Well, and it's creating that consistency, right? It's creating this way of being, this way of living your life. You know, we always talk about what kind of woman do you want to be? What kind of woman do you want to be right now? No matter what role it is, as a wife, as a mother, as a friend, as a sister, you know, aunt, whatever, all of those things, you know, what kind of woman do you want to be right now? And if you can keep that present. And it's so funny because you hit on several of the things that I have also started doing. And one of the things that you hit on is really accepting yourself. And there's a difference between tolerating yourself and accepting yourself. And I think that's an important difference. Danielle, in this book, she talks about different signs that you are loving yourself. And so what I would love is if any of you can associate with these things, like give major thumbs up and hearts, so we can see how it rolls and which one is the one that the few that most people can associate with. So it talks about you start where you are and love what you can. So you start where you are and you love what you can. So this is all about finding out where you're starting from, right? And I listened to the audiobook. I don't think I ever made it to this chapter of the audiobook, but this is one reason why Danielle LaPorte resonates with me so much, is that I'm on the same track as saying, like, I have to know where I'm starting from. And when I can accept where I'm starting from without a judgment, I can just start. Right? It's like that post that was on the Instagram or Facebook that I have. And it was about, if you just start, the way becomes clear. Well, that's because your action creates the clarity. It allows you to explore and find what really fits you. So another one is you practice good manners with yourself. How many of you need to practice better manners with yourself? That's something that I believe, and maybe not everyone agrees, but I believe in our culture that we as women don't do enough. We don't practice good manners. We always feel like other people deserve our best, and maybe we don't. Or maybe we give our best all the time and leave nothing for ourselves. And honestly, if you had a big piece of chocolate cake and you ate it all and you didn't offer me a bite, well, then I'd be pretty upset about that. So, like, you wouldn't do that to me, so don't do it to yourself. Do you see what I'm saying? Allow your light to be reflected back to you. You know, this is a lot of the stuff we talked about in that 10 tips to finding true contentment, is allowing people to appreciate you, allowing people to say, you are awesome. And sometimes we say it and we kind of just go, yeah, okay, you know, but really you're discounting yourself in that moment. So again, working on allowing people to reflect your light back to you. Hang out with people that love you. That seems like a no-brainer, but how many of you hang out with people that don't love you? And I don't mean like, oh, I love you, but that aren't supportive of you, that aren't your cheerleaders, that make you feel bad, or that you feel bad when you're around. So give me a yes or a thumbs up in the hearts if you've hung out with people that don't love you. It's so important. That's another reason why I created this group. I created this group so we can have women that surround each other. It's almost like white on rice, so to speak. It's like we just go to that person that needs us. We go to that way so that we can support that person. This is another big one. Reward yourself for trying. You know, it's not always in the accomplishment that you find satisfaction. Because when you have a goal, you think when you reach the goal, it's going to all be better. And your whole life is going to fall smack dab into place like those dominoes that just beautifully top over in a row, and it's going to be all fine. But sometimes by the time you reach the goal, you now don't even know why you got there. So it's in the process, it's in the present, it's in the being of every step of the way that you have joy and that you find contentment. So Margaret, I want to know, hi Tammy, I want to know, unfortunately, does that mean you hang out with people who don't love you? Or you have that experience? Let me know about that. The other one is you prioritize pleasure. Another one is you go beyond, oh, I already said this. You go beyond tolerating your so-called shortcomings to actually accepting more parts of yourself. The sensitive part of myself is as precious as the funny part of myself, is as the other parts of me. The light and the dark are there to balance it out, right? Both of those make up part of us. Mark says, I had to before, but I don't anymore. Yeah. So this one says you befriend your loneliness. How many of you on here have felt lonely, even if you're with someone else? Or how many of you on here, or even watching this recording, can feel loneliness? And you want to shove it away, and you want to fix it, and you want to surround yourself by either tasks or other people. And really, you befriend your loneliness. You experience yourself in that moment, right? So you mean what you say. I can't remember whether it was in the last blog post that you did, Sarah, about the Juan Ruiz, or is that in the upcoming one? I just let the cat out of the bag.
Upcoming one.
Bam! Sorry, nixed that. That never said. Anyway, it says you mean what you say. You take risks. You trust yourself. You trust your own divine knowing, right? You take risks. You hold out. How many of you have a hard time holding out, waiting, patience? I've had to learn patience. Be right back. Gotta order. Margaret, you're killing me. Okay. And so there's a couple more. Love yourself like it's your job. I mean, your job's important, but if you weren't doing the job, I mean, like you're not your job. You're you. And loving yourself as much as you love other people or other things or doing things is important. And then when you are able to love yourself, you're able to love more people more deeply. So I want you to think about this for a second. When you know yourself, when you know how to express love to yourself, at any moment of the day, you are able to express love for others more deeply because you understand it yourself. This is that going back within, going back within, going back within. If you have a problem with someone else, you better look in the mirror and go back within and see what that's about, because it's not usually about them. It's about you. And that's what we talk about this whole time. And one of the things I love in this kind of spiritual rawness is that we are developing on here, that we are saying, it is my own divine knowing. It is that fierce confidence that I'm building about how laser clear I am about my purpose in this life. And maybe you don't know what exactly the big purpose of your life is, but you can say right now, the purpose of my life is to be there for my children. The purpose in my life is partially to grow myself. Right? It doesn't have to be just one thing. It can be multiple things, but to have clarity on that. So here is the last sentence, and she has in here, it says, the only guarantee. So how many of you are ready for this? The only guarantee there is that loving yourself doesn't guarantee that you will be loved by others. So I'm going to say it again. She says, the only guarantee, here's the white hot truth. Loving yourself doesn't guarantee that you will be loved by others. Loving yourself means you love yourself. So as you start celebrating these parts of yourself that you maybe have deprived, that you said weren't worthy of your celebration. Your whole entire being is worthy of celebration because you are here, because you have been created by whatever, it doesn't matter. You're here, you've been created, and you deserve all the love that you would give to someone else to give to yourself. So it's not just about finding these quick remedies. Like Sarah said, you know, and I can't back it up enough too, Sarah, is that this is a process. This is a journey. Life doesn't just stop at one point. Sometimes it does, literally. But before I die, I want to be living it every second the way I want to live it, the way I know is right for me. So, Sarah, before we wrap this stuff up, and I say it one more time, this white hot truth, and then I'm going to pull a card. Do you have anything else you want to add to all of this?
I think I was just sort of reflecting on the question you asked me earlier about, you know, sort of strategies and stuff. And one thing that I think is really important as well is understanding for yourself what kind of, I can't think of a better way of saying this, but what replenishes your soul. And it's different for different people. But, you know, whether it's, so when you're struggling, what can you do for yourself that will help you feel better? So for me, it's often things like just getting out for a walk, getting some fresh air and some sunshine if there's some to be had, getting into nature, just being amongst some trees and things like that. For someone else, it might be curling up in a corner with a book. It might be, you know, it might be spending time with pets or children, but you've got to find the thing that really just revitalizes you, and so that when you're struggling you can give yourself some of that special time. It, you know, for some people it might be some, you know, like a sort of formal meditation process or yoga or whatever, but there's no right and wrong, there's no what it should be, but just getting to understand yourself and notice what is it that you do that just lifts you no matter how you're feeling. And so you can use that to really support yourself when you have those times that you're struggling. And that's, I think, you know, a really important, kind of ties into the one you mentioned from Danielle Laporte of prioritizing pleasure, you know, kind of in there, pleasure at a sort of almost a soul spiritual level.
So, I mean, so this, we're not doing an exercise today. Next week we will do an exercise because it'll be an interesting way. And not forgetting that this is all about, you know, the practice too. This is all about practicing. It's not about perfection. It's not about getting it right the first time. And I'm one of the people that drives for that, which is unrealistic the majority of the time. It's about the practice. It's about consistency. So, really quick, I want to remind everyone that the next True Serum Tuesday will not be next Tuesday. It will be next Monday, 7:30 Pacific Standard Time, so that we can, I'm going to be on vacation, and so on Tuesday night I'm going to be busy going to a music concert actually. So we're going to do it on Monday, so make sure you guys all know that. So I've been shuffling the cards, and I'm using the Pleasure is Power deck again, Truth Bomb deck. And so, oh, this is appropriate. So it says, love is never regrettable. So here it is. It says, love is never regrettable. Now, not thinking this in love that you get from others. We're talking about self-love. The compassion you can show toward yourself. The prioritization, just like Sarah said, of pleasure. It's about knowing, and the only guarantee is that loving yourself doesn't guarantee that you'll be loved by others. And yes, that's nice. But the first thing I need to do is know that I love me, because if I'm searching externally, I might regret a lot of things. But if I know myself and where I want to be, then I have no regrets because I'm always aware. So this week again is about the self-love. If you haven't commented, if you have ways that you're showing yourself self-love, just like Sarah was saying, what are some of those strategies that you're using? What are some of those things that make you feel replenished, that allow you to feel kind of invigorated again and empowered? make sure that you do those things. And if you do have some of those things, please put them in the comments below, because you never know what kind of idea is going to inspire another woman that's on this video or watching the recording. So Sarah and I want to say thank you so much. Thank you for honoring yourself and your time and giving yourself this little boost of self-love so that this next week, that's what you can focus on. And we look forward to seeing you next Monday for the next True Serum Tuesday. It'll be week 4. So love you all, and we will see you next Monday. Bye.